moment.
Immediately after Edeled said that, my me came. He fell from the top of the screen and landed on the ground of the me channel, and Edeled disappeared. I was happy to see my me again, but when he got up, I was shocked. He looked extremely pale, and he was covered in blood and stains, and he was wobbling, as if he was struggling to keep his balance. And I could have sworn that I heard my me whisper, "Help me." Edeled walked on screen with an axe. He walked over to my me and pushed him over. My me fell on the ground and cried even more. Edeled put his foot on my me to restrain him. "You get away from him!" I yelled. Edeled looked at me and said,
Well, I'll get away from him once he's dealt with.
Edeled said as he looked back at my me, who was crying and out of breath from squirming. Edeled raised his axe and swung it at my me's legs, chopping them off. And while there was no blood, I did see red stains in the areas in which Edeled chopped off my me's legs. I turned back to the TV, and Edeled swung the axe at my me's neck, decapitating him. And there was still no blood. However, I still did see red stains on my me's neck and head. I was came back with an axe. He kicked Will's me over and put his foot on him. "Edeled, stop! What are you doing?" I yelled as Edeled raised the axe.
Shut up! I've taught someone not to delete me this way before, and I'm not afraid to do it again!
Will just stood there, unable to move, speak, or do anything because of the fear. I ran to turn off the Wii, but I tripped on my bed leg, and I fell to the ground. I looked up at the TV.
I went through the pain of being deleted. And now it's time for your me to suffer! Say goodbye, you heartless—
I turned off the TV
Although everything seemed to have been all butterflies and rainbows while I was working, I always somehow had that feeling that someone or something was watching me from afar. But I didn't know what or who. Then I woke up. How long was I out for? But what I knew was I was extremely uncomfortable. Then I noticed I was tied to a chair with my mouth covered and my arms tied behind the chair. Anyways, let's get right to business. As he said that, he swung his fire axe. I closed my eyes for the impact, but he went right for my legs. I looked beside Henry, noticing that the documents of my game proposition were still on the floor. Henry then picks them up off the floor and reads them for a bit. "Reclamation, huh?" he said while looking at my documents. "Can't have this going around now, can we? Your work may be praised by the people around us, but deep down, you know it's nothing but trash, just like you." Then, Henry rips my folder in half and threw them in the nearby trash can. "Feeling stale much, huh? Wonder how that happened. Maybe your drink tasted a little off today," he said, while he had a smug look on his face. Then I looked up at him in the face. We stared at each other for a couple seconds, while I thought, did this fucker drug my coffee? What a dirty tactic. "Oh, Austin, if only I could have a little more time to play with you. You see, you weren't meant to last long here in this company. See you on the other side, old friend." Then Henry took his final swing.
the corrupted me walked on screen. He snuck up behind Edeled and covered Edeled's mouth with its hands, and walked away with him, and the camera followed.
Buddy?
The corrupted me exclaimed as Edeled was fighting for his life. He was kicking, he was trying to escape, but to no avail. Edeled was strapped to a table, with a rubber mouthpiece in his mouth, and 2 electrodes on the sides of his head. I saw the corrupted me standing over Edeled. Edeled just looked at me but couldn't talk. The corrupted me then walked over to a device next to the table. There was a dial on it, and then the corrupted me proceeded to crank that dial. Edeled was then severely electrically shocked, repeatedly. Once the shocks were done, Edeled tried to scream, but was muffled by his rubber mouthpiece. The corrupted me then looked at the camera.
Wow, can't tell channel anymore.
I want to know more.
Wait,
It's because
electricity made him forget.
how?
Get him that. Knowledge. Now, cure him.
Self.
As the corrupted me went to turn the dial on the machine again, I yelled out.
I rushed towards him forcefully and punched him directly in the face. Henry's body was shoved backwards away from the force of the hit. I finally arrived at the electric chair room. Then, I threw Henry towards the electric chair and tied him up while he was desperately trying to fight back. I was quick to find a dial in the device beside it, and I proceeded to crank it up. It was around 2 seconds before it started, but in those seconds, I looked at Henry's face. He was looking at me with an angry look. Henry then was severely electrocuted for several seconds. I only stood there and watched the view, satisfied, with a grin on my face. Without hesitation, I quickly rushed at Henry, leaving him with no time to react. I grabbed him by the neck and pulled him up. With a grin on my face and a scared look on Henry's, I glared down at my hand. I forgot I had modeled it to be low poly, so they looked like claws. I realized they were perfect for the job. I smiled and swiftly cut Henry's head off with my claws. I dropped Henry's dead body on the floor, but I was still not satisfied.
Well, then just spit it out, Mike. You're worrying me.
I saw Austin's body!
There isn't a need to fret, Mike. I know the situation has been dreading the both of us equally. I don't even think I have the words to describe any of this correctly. You aren't in trouble. Because I know that you wouldn't tell anyone about what you saw, right?
Wait, what are you talking
You know exactly what I mean. We won't be releasing any vital details about this incident from here on out. Is that correct, Mike?
After doing some research myself, I have concluded that Todd is not breaking the law because, as what I read is that in most U.S. states, it is not illegal to not give out any information to the police. Although this is really, really questionable, and I'm not sure if this actually is illegal or not.
Is that so? Because I do not think that you understand why we are trying to prevent anyone from finding out about what you saw.
Huh? What are you implying, sir?
You still won't catch on, huh? You really do make me laugh sometimes, Mike. You're so clueless. It's pathetic.
Pardon?
Do you think I could care less about your fellow workers' fragile little minds? The reason this cannot get out to anyone isn't because we're trying to spare someone else's comfortability. I could not give a damn if it causes a disturbance. God, as if you couldn't get any more dense. Listen up. If you tell anyone what you saw in that room, our company is done for. After all these decades, all of our hard work, it would all go to waste. We have built a legacy for ourselves, and god damn it, we could strike it rich with our next title. If the word gets out to anyone else, someone could rat us out and our name will be slandered. Nintendo is on the line here, Mike. And with your little sob story, it can cause damage to us. Permanent damage! You would be the sole reason that every single one of our jobs, our work, our efforts, and years of trying to set something ourselves falls to absolutely nothing. Without our company, all of us here would mean nothing in society. We all would not have any left worth to us if what we worked so hard for was taken from us. Everything that we lived up for would have been ruined for us, and it would be all because of you. Your fault and your fault alone. Do you want that? And while I am at it, do you think Austin would have wanted this?
No, he wouldn't have. I wouldn't have either, Todd.
Good. You're a fast listener, kid. I knew I could depend on you.